Okay, so picture this. Two identical homes, same zip code, same square footage, one sells for $400,000 more, and the seller of the cheaper one refuses to understand why. I've seen it happen. The stuff buyers are actually pricing in. It's not what most agents are telling you. So today I'm giving you all 10 factors, including why I am begging you to get rid of that carpet. Please. And I'm not making that up, by the way. That's just Silicon Valley. Buyers here aren't just buying a house, they're buying a commute time, a school assignment, and a neighborhood vibe. And they're putting a very specific dollar amount on each one. So if you go into your listing without knowing which factors are actually helping you and which ones are hurting you, you're handing that conversation straight to the buyer, and they will use it against you. So let's start with the one most sellers think they already understand, and that's location. Alright, most people think location means what city it's in, but in Silicon Valley, that's only half the answer. Buyers ask themselves, how many minutes to my office? Can I get there without sitting on the freeway? And homes that answer that will sell for more. And here's what surprises most sellers. Two homes on the same exact street can have completely different commute profiles depending on which direction you exit in the morning. The difference is real money. I've had buyers who walked away from homes that looked perfect on paper. We've drove the actual commute, hit Lawrence Expressway at 8:15 a.m., and that was it. Done. The sellers never knew why. They thought it was something about the house, and it wasn't. It was just the commute. Buyers cross homes off their list just because the route added 20 minutes each way. That's 200 minutes a week, and I've experienced these buyers myself. These are busy, high-earning people, and they price that in to the equation. Yes, proximity sets the floor of your home's value, but the next factor sets the ceiling, and it has nothing to do with the house itself. This one is genuinely huge. The single most powerful thing shaping your home's value in Silicon Valley is often a line you can't even see on a map, and that's a school district boundary. And here's the part that confuses almost everyone. Those boundaries do not follow city lines at all. San Jose has over 1 million people, and it's served by multiple school districts: Cupertino Union, Fremont Union High, San Jose Unified, and more. So a San Jose or Sunnyvale address that feeds into Cupertino Union will often sell for far more than a comparable home in the same city, because buyers know they're getting those schools without paying the full Cupertino pricing. If your home is in one of those pockets, you might be seriously underpricing just because you're talking to the wrong buyers. The numbers show it clearly. Well-updated homes around 2,000 square feet in Cupertino with top school assignments are closing in to the low to mid $3 million range. In Palo Alto, inside the Palo Alto Unified School District, similar homes hit the mid $4 millions and above. Those aren't city premiums, they're school premiums. I worked with a family who was completely set on Cupertino. When I showed them the boundary map, they realized two homes they'd already dismissed, both San Jose addresses, fed directly into Cupertino Union. They bought one at a lower price per square foot than comparable Cupertino address homes with the same exact schools. The city name on the listing was a distraction. The school boundary was what the data followed the whole time. And the biggest mistake that I see these sellers make, they assume buyers already know, but they don't. If your home has great school access, you really need to make sure that it is getting marketed correctly. It might be the most valuable thing about your home. And the next factor, the one about your actual block, is something most sellers have just completely stopped paying attention to. Now, before we go any further, I'm Jessica Heredia, and I'm a realtor based in Silicon Valley. I've spent years really going deep in this market. The data, the neighborhoods, the offer patterns, the specific things that actually drive what makes homes in this market here. And when you work with me, you work directly with me from start to finish. No assistance, no handoffs, none of that. My contact info is in the description and the pinned comment. Now let's keep going because we're just getting to the good part. Buyers are pricing the block before they even open up the front door. Tree-lined streets, nearby parks, neighbors who take care of their homes. I know when I pull up to show a home, these are things that come across my mind. I actually tell my clients to not only see the home during the day, but with any home to drive through it at night to really understand the neighborhood and how they might feel about it. Now, in Mountain View, Los Altos, Cupertino, Palo Alto, these are things that explain why certain blocks consistently sell at the top of the market while comparable homes a few streets over just sit there. And the flip side is just as real. High voltage power lines next door, a storage lot 2 houses down, a neglected property across the street. That stuff cuts your buyer pool fast, even if your home is in perfect condition. We recently just had a spacious home in San Mateo. It was a great size and a great price, but there was a huge empty lot with containers next door, and just about everyone who walked into that open house was asking about it, and not in a good way. So here's what I keep running into in listing consultations. I walk the block with a seller, and I find some external issues they've completely stopped seeing. Not because they don't care, just because because they've walked past it every single day for years, it became invisible to them. Buyers see it with totally fresh eyes and they put a number on it right away. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Jessica, I can't control what my neighbors do. And you're right, you can't. But you can absolutely control whether your strategy accounts for it. A home on a block with an external problem needs to be priced and positioned differently than a home on a clean block, even if its two houses are basically identical. Most sellers miss this completely and then spend weeks wondering why nothing is happening. Find it before the buyer does and get ahead of it in your pricing and fix what you can fix. That's how you manage the discount instead of getting blindsided by it. Well, I know, you can't always control what's happening around your home, but the next factor, the one about your actual land, is something sellers either use to their advantage completely or just leave it sitting on the table. Okay, in one of the most land-constrained markets in the country, a flat, usable private backyard isn't a nice bonus anymore. It's definitely a negotiating position. Buyers aren't buying square footage on paper. They're buying what it actually feels like to live in that yard. Space for kids, room to entertain, space to build. That's being priced as a core feature here. Privacy makes it even more valuable. Homes with mature landscaping, real seclusion, and no neighbors staring down from a second-story window consistently beat homes that back up to a busy road or feel exposed. Buyers notice it and they care. But here's where it gets really interesting. The ADU situation has completely changed how buyers think about backyard potential. If they don't need the backyard space for kids and hanging out, this is another plus alternative. Let me quickly translate the legislation because this matters for your listing value right now. AB 976, effective January 2024, permanently removed owner occupancy requirements on most ADUs in California. What that means practically is that the buyer can purchase your home, build an ADU, and rent it out without ever living there themselves. Cities now have to provide pre-approved ADU plans and finish their review within 30 days. And San Jose went even further, becoming the first city in California to allow certain ADUs to be sold as separate condominiums. So a lot with ADU potential isn't just a backyard anymore. It's potentially a rental unit, a place for family, or a long-term asset. I've seen a home with 500 fewer square feet and a flat ADU ready yard beat the bigger home on a sloped exposed lot because one came in with real options built into the land and the other one just didn't. Now, if your backyard has ADU potential and your listing doesn't say so, you're leaving money on the table. That outdoor advantage only works if buyers actually experience it though. And that brings us to the factor that kills deals before buyers even sit down at the negotiating table. Quick pause before we keep going. If you've already been watching Silicon Valley real estate and are trying to figure out why prices move the way they do, everything I'm walking through here is exactly what I go over in listing consultations. The data, the strategy, and how to position your specific home. If this kind of detail is useful to you, hit subscribe and feel free to give me a call or send me a message. A home next to a freeway in Silicon Valley is competing in a completely different market than a home 3 blocks away, even if everything else looks identical on paper, and this isn't just my opinion. Right now, I actually have clients who I am helping as they live out of town, and when they find properties that they like, one of the questions that they ask me is if I can hear the main road, the freeway nearby, and any other noise. Now, the Santa Clara VTA has an active State Route 85 noise reduction program with pilot projects and multi-year mitigation across several South Bay cities. That program exists because public agencies confirmed the problem was real enough to need a coordinated response. That's on the public record, so what does that mean for you as a seller? Homes on high traffic streets consistently sit longer and close at the discount compared to homes on quieter blocks. I have buyers who refuse to view a home on a main road and near a freeway due to the high traffic and noise. But here's the part most sellers miss. The discount isn't always the same size because not every noise and traffic situation is equal. And the biggest mistake I see is sellers just accepting whatever discount comes their way without figuring out what actually is driving it. Because if you know what it is, then you can probably do something about it. Soundproofing, landscaping buffers, and pricing against the right comparables. Those are real moves, but you need to know how to make them. There's also a timing issue worth understanding. The buyer who tours your home on a quiet Sunday morning and the buyer who drives past on a Tuesday evening are having two completely different experiences of the same property. If you show strategy doesn't account for that, you're not managing your presentation, you're just hoping, and hoping is not a good strategy. External factors set the whole context for your listing. Now, let's go inside because once a buyer gets past the street, what they're really figuring out is whether the home actually works for their life. Okay, here's something I really want you to understand. Square footage is what shows up in the listing. What buyers are actually pricing is how the home feels to be in, and those two things are not always the same thing at all. Silicon Valley buyers, and specifically the tech demographic that makes up so much of this market, want open, flexible floor plans. The layout where the kitchen, dining area, and living room connect and flow out toward the yard is heavily favored. So if any layout that can actually handle a real home office or a flexible workspace. And that's not going away anytime soon. Hybrid work isn't just a trend in this market, it's just how it works now. Office buildings across the Bay Area are still well below full capacity, tech workers make up a massive share of the workforce here, and per capita income is in the mid 150,000s. These are busy, high-earning people, and a floor plan that makes them improvise a workspace at the kitchen table is not going to cut it for this buyer. They'll notice it and they'll price it. I actually just had a buyer walk into an open house yesterday, and the first thing he asked me is where would be a good place for him to put his desk. Now, here's the pattern I keep running into. A well-designed 1,800 square foot home outperforms a poorly laid out 2,100 square foot home in the same neighborhood. The bigger home sold for less because it actually felt smaller inside. 300 extra square feet gone, just because of how the floor plan was set up. Sometimes the bigger home just isn't the best if the layout is bad. So if your home has a layout challenge, don't try to hide it. Stage directly against it, lean hard into the outdoor flow if you have it, and price with the reality that it is already baked in from the start. How a home flows really matters, but there's a factor that buyers feel even faster than that first 30 seconds of walking through the front door. Now imagine two homes, same square footage. You walk into the first one and it feels open and easy to be in. You walk into the second one and it just feels cramped even though the numbers say it's the same size. And I promise you, the difference rarely comes down to the actual square footage, it comes down to the light. So when you see listing language like abundant natural light or bright and airy, that's not just a filler copy. That's actually pointing out to a specific feeling that buyers will pay more for. When I'm listing homes with amazing natural light, I definitely try to emphasize it in my marketing because I know that is what the majority of buyers are searching for. Homes with big windows that face toward the private yard, some trees, maybe a hillside view consistently feel larger than square footage suggests. And that feeling shows up in showing traffic and in offer counts before it even comes into an actual conversation. Now, the flip side is just as real, and this is the part most sellers miss. Homes that are heavily shaded by the house next door or where the main window faces a wall, a driveway, or a busy road feel smaller and less appealing even when the list price looks fair. It affects how buyers feel when they're walking through the home, and how buyers feel in the moment is a huge part of what they're willing to put in for an offer. Here's the honest reality for sellers. Staging is really about managing light, everything else is secondary. Before your photographer shows up, walk every single room in your house and ask yourself one question. What is this window actually facing? What does a buyer see when they look through it? And whatever your answer is, that should be driving your entire presentation strategy. As you just saw, light shapes how buyers feel in the moment. But the next factor shapes something just as powerful. How confident do they feel about what they can't see? Every buyer is running the same quiet calculation on every showing they go to. The question in their head is, what am I going to find after I move in? And your home's visible condition is the answer whether you've thought about it that way or not. Homes that show clear signs of being taken care of, solid roofs, updating systems, clean inspection history, fresh finishes, those lower the perceived risk for buyers. And when perceived risk drops, offers go up. I've watched it happen over and over, and it's gonna just keep happening that way. On the other side, deferred maintenance makes buyers build a discount into their offer for unknowns, whether those unknowns actually exist or not. Perceived risk costs you just as much as actual risk does. And now, the carpet. I told you at the very beginning of this video that I was going to get here. The main buyer in this market overwhelmingly prefers hardwood over wall-to-wall carpet. The carpet reads as rental grade, it raises questions about what's underneath it, and it signals that other updates might have been skipped too. Hardwood feels more move-in ready. It's one of the best return pre-listing investments you can make here. Here's why this matters so much. Silicon Valley's median home price is around $1.9 million. The buyers who can actually afford that are high earners who don't have time for projects. They're paying a premium specifically to avoid them. Tired carpet and deferred maintenance ask them to take all of that on, and they will price it accordingly. I've had sellers skip the flooring upgrade to save money and then sit on the market 2 extra weeks and net less than the upgrade would have cost. That's the version of the story I don't want for you. Now, if you have to keep the carpet, keep it in the bedrooms, and only the bedrooms, especially not the bathrooms. Know your buyer. Interior condition shapes buyer confidence, but none of that work matters if buyers have already decided to skip the showing, which brings us to what they see before ever stepping inside. Buyers are already driving through the neighborhood before even scheduling a showing. Tuesday evenings, Saturday mornings, sometimes weeks before they reach out to anyone. Your curb appeal is your very first interview, and people are getting screened out without you ever knowing you were in the running. Let me be really honest about something I see all the time. Most sellers genuinely can't see what their front yard looks like anymore. Not because they don't care, just because they've walked past it every single day for years and it stopped registering. I've done listing consultations where I pointed out overgrown hedges, peeling trim, and a cracked driveway that the seller had completely tuned out. I've also had sellers redo their landscaping thinking it looks great, and maybe it does to them, but not the average buyer if they are trying to sell their home in this market. And you could see on their face the moment they actually looked at it, the way a stranger would for the first time. Tree-lined streets, tidy front yards, clean driveways, and maintenance facades are core reasons why certain blocks consistently command the highest prices within a zip code. A well-presented exterior tells a buyer before they've seen a single room that this home has been taken care of, and that impression carries all the way through the showing. The opposite creates what I call project fatigue. Overgrowing landscape, peeling paint, and cracked hardscape all settle into a buyer's mind the second they see it, and it doesn't fully leave even when the interior is really impressive. Targeted landscaping, exterior paint, and hardscape cleanup are constantly some of the best return pre-listing investments you can make. And one more thing most sellers underestimate. The majority of buyers form their first impression online before they ever even make a visit. Your exterior photography is doing almost as much work as the actual showing. Spend your prep budget like that's true, and ensure your agent's marketing vendors are top tier for those online shoppers. Well, we've covered the physical home from pretty much every angle, but there's one factor left, and it's honestly the most Silicon Valley specific thing in this entire video. It's the one that ties everything else together. The market doesn't just have buyers, it has a buyer profile. The closer your home matches its natural buyer, the more pricing power you have. Now here's a quick snapshot. Tech workers make up a huge share of the workforce here. Per capita income is around $150,000, roughly $70 billion in venture capital in a single year. Median home prices in Santa Clara and San Mateo counties are around $1.9 million. Concentrated tech wealth, real housing shortage, and a buyer pool that is powerful and extremely picky. Two main profiles drive most of the demand. The first is the family-oriented tech worker, top schools, quiet streets, functional yard, move-in ready. This is the buyer driving prices in Cupertino, Palo Alto, Los Altos, Saratoga, and the school boundary pockets in San Jose and Sunnyvale feeding into those same districts. For this buyer, the school district is the most important factor on the whole list. Everything else serves that. The second is the younger or child-free professional, transit access, walkable neighborhoods, low maintenance, lifestyle proximity. Active in Mountain View, walkable Sunnyvale neighborhoods near Caltrain or VTA. Or this buyer, the school district is basically irrelevant. Floor plan, commute, and walkability are everything. Homes that speak clearly to one specific profile sell faster and at stronger prices. Trying to appeal to everyone is how you end up with a home that just sits. I can usually tell which profile a home will attract within the first 5 minutes of the consultation. Most sellers haven't thought about it once. The gap is where most of the money gets left on the table. The sellers who do best in this market aren't the ones who fix absolutely everything. They're the ones who know which 3 or 4 factors their specific buyer actually cares about and go really deep on those. All 10 factors we covered today work together and build on each other. Miss the right ones for your buyer and you'll leave real money behind. Understand them and you will walk into this market with real leverage. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this: know your buyer before you do anything else, and everything else flows just from that. So if this video gave you a clear picture on how pricing in Silicon Valley actually works, and you're thinking about selling sometime in the next 6 to 12 months, let's get to talking. No pressure, no sales pitch, just a real, honest look at your specific home, which factors are working for you, and what a smart positioning strategy would actually look like in your case. My contact info is in the description and the pinned comment below. I'll see you next week. Bye bye for now.